The round of 12 has come to a close at the Roval. On this episode of NASCAR Inside the Race, Todd and I will break down the 4 teams that were eliminated from playoff contention. And AJ Allmendinger got it done on another road course. We'll show you how a timely yellow factored into the win. And moving on, 8 drivers remain heading west to Las Vegas. Just how do we think each team could fare in the next round?
Allmendinger's last win was at the Indianapolis road course back in 2021. Out of the final turn, he wins at the Charlotte Roval.
It's a freaking cup race, man. You don't know when it's ever going to happen again. Let's go!
All right, cut race, Roval, year, 5 now. 12 entered, 8 left with a chance to win the championship. Overall, I thought it was entertaining, but a little calmer than years past.
Yeah, it definitely was, and felt like, the top 7 going into this race, I thought were guys that were going to continue their path forward. We had it down to really the bottom 5, and there wasn't a lot of movement there. Some interesting stories that happened, but nothing spectacular.
So let's just take a look. I think this is the best way to do it. I love this graphic. I saw this on social. These are the 12 drivers that had an opportunity heading into the Roval. You see Byron and Blaney, they've advanced. The colors are basically a breakdown of each track, the gray being the playoff points, blue Texas, yellow for Talladega, the green are the 2 winners. 4 drivers to the right, they're all at a minus. I think what really jumps out to me is, you see Chastain, what that did, right? Only getting 1 point or very few points at Talladega hurt them. That was heading into the Roval. Heading out of the Roval, this is what it ended up looking like, right? So Byron and Blaney advance, a bunch of guys on points, Chastain, Wallace, Keselowski, and Busch unable to advance.
Yeah, and I actually last week, I think this was where I kind of felt they would be. Tough go at it. Really, the top 7, I thought, were in a good position. I think 17, 18 points to the cut line or something like that. Brad Keselowski kind of fell his way back out of contention here as Tyler Reddick drove his way into it.
So I think this is where we would go relive the Roval and talk about how these moments eliminated drivers. But the story really, in my mind, isn't the Roval. I thought most of the drivers performed pretty well. So these are the 4 eliminated. Same color scheme. You see some glaring things to me. I think let's start with the first guy out, Chastain. So if we look at his stack up of points, that wasn't enough. I think the glaring issue is right here in the center. The yellow is Talladega, and you see it's barely any points at Talladega.
Yeah, that very thin margin means there's very little points in that race. And, good points total at both Texas and Roval, but being caught up in the situation there at the end of stage 1, I guess it was, with the 47 run out of gas.
Yeah, it was really this close. Just to remind everybody, you're on board with Chastain right here. And this is awful to say, but this is how quickly your playoff hopes can be dashed. Nothing of his own doing, right? The 47's out of gas. The 8 tries to go around, catches him in the right rear corner, and around he goes. It doesn't look any better from outside the car. The result's still the same. That's what eliminated Chastain in my mind. He actually ran pretty good at the Roval. So now the question is Bubba Wallace. I think he's the big story, and he, in his interview, he pointed to Texas. So I don't agree. I understand what he's saying, but I don't agree. If you look here, he scored a bunch of points at Texas. You know what he lacks? Look right here. Look across. See all those gray points? Those are playoff points. Those are what you earn in the regular season. That's what cost the 23.
And this is only the playoff points for the cars that got eliminated. If you added the other 8 ahead of this, their margin's even bigger here. Yeah, definitely. The regular season, not having the playoff points coming into it, put him in a deficit. He's going to look at Texas because he had control of that race. He led the last restart. William Byron beat him on a move that I think he wished he had back, and he's still kind of dwelling on that piece that he could have won there. And really, I think if he's put in a situation again, he makes a different move in the backstretch.
So A+ year for the 23. I don't want him to be happy they're eliminated. I want him to want to win a championship. He's going to talk about this move right here. He's going to turn left and block William Byron. He's going to wish he just arced off into the corner. But the truth is, I love that about him, and I love that he wants to improve that moment. But I don't want him to hang his head, because if I'm his crew chief, if I'm Booty Barker, not winning Texas isn't how we were eliminated, right? No playoff points was really the story for the 23 car. I need the driver that showed up, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 weeks ago. There was this moment, maybe Richmond,
yes,
where Bubba went from hoping to get into the playoffs to fighting his way into the playoffs. If that driver shows up again next, his talent's there. If that mentality continues, which I think it will, I think he's going to be a playoff contender and go deep into the playoffs again next year.
Yeah, the run they made at the end of the season, it was like they turned a page, and they got to the point where, yeah, you talked about it before. They weren't racing to figure out how they were going to not get in. They were racing like they wanted to and racing forward at it. Did a really good job of it. I would say the lack of playoff points and the 23rd place finish at Talladega. I really felt like Bubba would run better than that. That's what's lacking. There's nothing down here.
Yeah.
And this is kind of skinny.
Yeah, it looks a little better next to Chastain, but it's really not any better.
It's not, but really, to your point, this is a solid day at Texas.
Yeah, right.
Not what he wanted because he felt like he could have won, but we'll see where they go forward. This has definitely been a development process.
So the one driver that I believe had the biggest effect from the Roval, Brad Keselowski. So you see right here, decent playoff points, good day at Texas, okay at Talladega, really a good day at the Roval. What happened to Brad, interestingly enough, is he misses the chicane early in stage 1. So this is Brad right here. He's going to try to go around this corner right here. The issue is, what I want you to look at, let's talk about the rules. At least 2 tires have to stay on the racing surface. That's defined as the white and red area. So if I come forward with this nice and slow, right there, you can see blue curbing to the right of the right front. I can assure you the right rear goes through the same area just like that. So that is all 4 tires interior. That deserves a pass-through penalty.
And this was prior to stage 1, in a situation where he probably would have scored stage points at that point, has to do a stop and go, doesn't execute it there on that lap, ends up with a drive-through as well. A tough day and a tough loss for these guys here at the Roval.
I like the stop and go happen on the front stretch. I actually hope they paint like a penalty box there, like in hockey. Make all the penalties be served there for the fans to cheer and boo. It's really hard because Brad had to know he missed it on his own and kind of enforce it right away. NASCAR doesn't give you a whole nother lap. I don't know if they'll look at that, but the result is still the same. Issue in stage 1, and that's what really cost him the points. When I look at, I think he has a pretty good round. Other than that, I know you have an opinion about this yellow box. You think this yellow box could be bigger?
I think that you've got to look back at this and say the decision to push on Carson Hocevar in the trial, that ended up, I would put Brad as one of my top 6-7 guys to win at a super speedway at Talladega, and that took him out of the race. The push there, he was trying to be aggressive with it, but I think in retrospect, after exiting here, he's going to think about the Roval and cutting across there, but he's also going to look back at Talladega, because Talladega, that brought him back a 32nd place finish.
A 32nd place finish at Talladega. When I look to the last guy, Kyle Busch came in a must-win, almost delivered, almost had that Christopher Bell walk-off moment. For him, when you look at his graph, it really jumps out to me, the blue. I know the yellow's not what he needs as well. He was in that mess on the backstretch, but Texas is the one.
And if you recall at Texas, he spun on his own, running in the top 10. Not a Kyle Busch thought here, but that really was a day ender. He complained about, he thought he had a right front tire going down, and then he spun out here. He was bumfuzzled by it as well. Really, this was the unfolding of the playoffs.
AJ Allmendinger quickly becoming maybe the most valuable driver, or at least a high-value driver in the garage. Next year's schedule has been announced, Todd. A road course in the first round of the playoffs, a road course in the second round of the playoffs. After his performance at the Roval, getting his 3rd win, all on road courses, are you thinking, man, maybe I should try to hire AJ away from Matt Collig?
I wonder if Matt Collig's trying to figure that out as well. Now that the schedule's been announced, yeah, definitely a guy that I would put in my top 5 of road course performers, and tons of talent, and put together a great race.
I think he brings it to the level of their equipment. I think they have to get a little faster at the ovals, but let's just remind everybody, right, a great move on the 8 of Kyle Busch. Kyle, I have to applaud Kyle. He got my heart going a little bit in the booth there. I thought we might have another walk-off win. He was better than I expect him to be at the Roval. It was really good. Once the 16 got by the 8, though, then it was only a question if he could hold off. Hey, guess who? William Byron. Another racetrack, another great run. This is AJ blocking Byron into the bus stop.
Yeah, AJ didn't get off of turn 8 as well as William did there. He had a great run getting the bus stop. AJ smart enough to stagger left to block it. Again here, kind of blocks the advancement of the 24 in the final chicane.
Yeah, and Byron didn't let him get away, kept the pressure on. But one driver who the race got away from, I'm not going to say he let the race get away, I wonder what kind of race we would have saw if the 9 of Chase Elliott still had track position. They showed up, they had speed, and they got caught with an untimely yellow. Remember, when that happened, they were running in front of AJ. That's the one car AJ didn't really pass on the racetrack.
Yeah, definitely a situation. As a leader, you don't have to pit with 3 to go. You can go to 2. I think Allen did the right thing and going to that point. Just unfortunate that a caution came out as they're coming to pit road.
Yeah, so let's take a look at it. 9-car pitting. This is coming 2 to go in the second stage. And right here, he pulls back off. He misses the orange box, which doesn't matter. A lot of confusion about what's allowed and not allowed. Let me be clear. I'm going to start him right here. Pit road commitment rules. Let's review them one more time. 4 tires below the orange box, you are committed to pit road. Anything else, touching the box with your rights, 4 tires, not touching the box because you're to the driver's right, which is what the 9's able to do, you can return to the track with no penalty.
Yes, that's the rule as it states. We all worry about 4 tires because it's coming to pit road. Avoiding pit road, it can be anything you want to. And a good call here. We've got audio with it too. I think Eddie DeHunt does a great job of calling him to it, being aware of what's going on.
He does a nice job. Let's listen in to the entire 9 team coming to pit road.
Pit this time, get your tools right.
Yep, see you right here.
20, 10, 5, and line precautions out.
So let's back this up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, back this up.
Let's talk about tools. Let's start with that. Tools right.
He's going to make sure that his brake bias is set correctly. Okay. That'd be the main thing that I would think of, because what you race with is going to be different than what you can max brake getting into pit road.
So let's see how my drawing is. The pit light is basically right there. You see it currently bright green. I'm going to move this forward very slowly because I think we get a color change.
Right there.
Right there. And at the same time, you got 2 things. You got a caution light over here, and you got a pit light over here, right? So you have 2 things that have changed decision. Eddie tells him, and Chess goes back on the racetrack. So if he commits at this point and pits his tail end, he could roll through at pit speed and not have a penalty, but you're going to give up track time. I think Chase does really his only option.
He does the best option, making the aversion to get back on the racing surface. He's control. This gets him the stage win.
So I don't want to pick on Allen, but you really need to listen to this to appreciate the year the 9's having.
Cautions out. What? For what? There's a car sideways in 4.
Like, even Allen is like, for what? What is this yellow for? He has had the worst year of luck. To defend NASCAR, what is the yellow? Well, I can show it to you. Off pit road, Corey LaJoie, a little bit of a dive bomb on Josh Bilicki. Positions were hard to come by. Bilicki obviously has no ID he's there. Then the 7 locks up the brakes into the tire barrier. I mean, this deserves a yellow. I mean, there's debris all over the racetrack. But just to go back, I hate to relive this again. But when I spin this forward, right, we're talking
green, red. If he'd just gotten to pit road here,
somewhere like right there is the pit line.
Yeah, you're less than 100 yards from being there.
So I've been a little hard on the 9, not having all the speed they need at times, maybe not having the best pit strategy at times, ran out of gas at Watkins Glen. This one right here has nothing to do with the 9. This is as bad luck as racing bad luck comes.
It is, and at this situation, he's ahead of AJ with probably equal to better speed. If this executes the way their game plan is, it'd be interesting to see how this all plays out. You talk about the 9 car, though, their playoff run.
Yeah.
Their worst finish in a playoff is 11th. They've put together a run in this round of 12. They were the second most points gathering. So they're turning the corner. They're putting things together. Obviously lucked on their side.
I know you know the answer to these questions, so I'm not going to put you on display here, but just keep your pencil sharp, because if the 9 advances out of the next round in the Owners' Championship, then you're going to get to explain to the fans at home the difference between a driver and an owner champion. Well, we're here. Round of 8. 8 drivers advance. Let's just take a quick look at them. Here they go. William Byron, Truex, Hamlin, Larson above, Buescher, Reddick, Bell, Blaney below. If those numbers look small, it's because they are. All the drivers that had a small amount of playoff points have really been eliminated. This is the closest Byron and Truex have started to the cut line all playoffs. Overall, what do you make of these 8?
Yeah, the 4 on the left are the 4 that before the playoffs started that I picked to go to my championship 4. I feel like I feel like you've gotten the point. These are the 8 cars that you would have expected to get through here. I think when you look at it, I'm anxious to see if anybody on the right side can work their way left.
So I have my homework. I did my prep on who I think can advance and why, and I have a good argument for each of them, but let's review what has happened. So this is the 8 drivers, and these are the 6 races from the current playoffs. So we're going to take a look here, and we're going to start with Darlington. Okay, we have the 5 at the top, we have the 11 and the 20 at the bottom, the 19 somewhere just outside the top 15. You're going to start to see a trend right here. 5 near the top, 19 near the bottom, 11 and 5 at Bristol. Let's just take a talk, before we talk about past history outside of the playoffs, looking at this. What do you see here versus what you think we may see in the next 3 races?
This is a trend line that we didn't see before, but if you tie the 19 together, we're not showing much.
Can you believe that the 19 hasn't had a top 15 in the playoffs?
It's crazy, isn't it?
When we talk about regular season value, he is defining it right here with his playoff run.
Yeah, if he didn't have his regular season points, he wouldn't be. And then you want to look at the other one on the other side of that, the 24 car.
The 24's worst finish is better than the 19's best finish.
It's hard to fathom because I felt like as the final few races we finished up the regular season, the separation, Martin grew that separation from the 24 car. It's kind of like the roles reversed once they got into here. I wouldn't write Martin off at this point. I think we're coming back to racetracks he's going to be good at.
Well, let's talk about it. You want to start at the back or the front?
Either way, you make the call.
All right, I'm going to start really simple with the 4 up front. I'm going to make it as easy as this. William Byron, Truex, Hamlin, Larson, guess what they all have in common? They have all won at the next 3 racetracks.
All 3 of them.
They have won at all 3 of the racetracks. The 24 won at Vegas in March. He's won at Miami and Martinsville in his career. The 19 has won at all those tracks. Let me add a little nugget for Las Vegas. He's finished in the top 10 in 11 of the last 12. So if he's ever going to get off this lack of top 15 run, now's the time. Denny Hamlin, he leads the category. 9 wins at the next 3 tracks, the most of any driver. The 5 also has won at the next 3 tracks. I say that because the argument is very easy, in my opinion, for the drivers on the left. The concern, Truex's current playoff momentum, and when it goes bad for Larson, it goes bad. I mean, he's really fast, but it ends up in a DNF. I think that's my only concern on the left side of the board. Buescher, Reddick, Bell, Blaney, pick a driver and give me a good argument why they can advance.
Well, Christopher Bell did a walk-off win at Martinsville last year. What's to say he can't repeat that performance this year?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Bell proved to us that when he was pushed into a corner, he could fight his way out. I like that kind of deep down kind of fighting mentality. Right above him, the 45 of Tyler Reddick. You can't go to Miami without him as one of your favorites. We've seen him win 2 Xfinity championships, running right on the fence. Why not in the Cup Series? So how about Blaney? He's at -10. Everybody's very close. You know Blaney perhaps better than anyone. What's your thoughts on Blaney?
I wouldn't write him out at this point. When you look at it and look at the year he's had, just go back a few races. We go back to Texas, qualified, 25th, something like that. Hassler did some aggressive pit calls, got him into the top 10, I think top 7. They stuck there. Once they got themselves in that position, they drove forward till they got a penalty later. Both of these races, Homestead and Vegas, Ryan was in a position to contend for a win at both races. Execution issues. If they can clean the execution pieces up, they won the Coke 600 earlier this year at 1.5 miles. So I think they've got a shot, and they've got to look at it that way as well.
I think for Buescher, I think it's impossible to look back very far because it's really a career year. So how can we take past success or past failure and judge it on this year? It's the best year he's ever had in his career. RFK has found this, I don't even want to call it new life, but this identity, this blue-collar grind and fight their way through. And he's great at the short tracks, which we have Martinsville in.
Yeah, we definitely do. And the fact that Brad's out of it now, the team becomes more focused on one car's cause. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
All right. How many get through on points and how many get through on wins?
Great question. If you're asking me to put it through, I think it's going to be 2 and 2.
So I think the next 3 wins come out of these 8. Although, we have seen some wins at, Jeff Gordon at Martinsville. Like, we have seen some other things. But I agree. I think 2 guys come through on points. So for that reason, you have to be very careful. You can't just throw everything at it. You don't have to worry about playoff points anymore. If you advance, everybody's heads up at Phoenix, but you have to advance. You can't ignore points. We know at least one's going to get through on points.
Yeah, definitely one will get through on points. And these 3 races don't play out where strategies would take you away from playoff points or stage points. So you've got to get every point that's available to you.
You do have to get all the points, but you could also gamble. You're heading west, heading to Las Vegas, the round of 8, a win, and you advance to the championship 4. Tune in, NBC, 2:30 on Sunday.